Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host Ramses, and today we will be talking to one of Indonesia's most prominent business leaders and the founder and CEO of Wardour and Oxford, Wempy Dyocta Koto. Welcome, Mr. Wempy.
Good morning, Ramses. Actually, it's midday. So good morning to you at Jakarta. Hello from Perth in Australia.
Yeah, so let's get started. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do?
Okay, so I was born in Indonesia at Parang Panjang, which is at Sumatra Barat. And then when I was still a baby, we moved over to Sydney in Australia. So that's where I completed my SD, right? I went through kindergarten through to primary school, high school, senior high school, university, completed my bachelor's and master's degree here at Sydney in Australia. Then after that, I worked in Sydney for about 5 years and then moved over to Singapore for another 5 years, then over to Hong Kong, London, San Francisco, and where your backdrop is, and then to Jakarta. And ever since the COVID-19 outbreak at March 2020, I have been here at Perth. I relocated to Perth. So all this time, I have had a pretty mixed career where I worked at corporate for a number of years at American Express, at Sydney as well as Singapore. And then I worked for advertising agencies such as Ogilvy as well as Wunderman and Young and Rubicam, where I worked on advertising campaigns for Samsung, for Nokia. You'd be too young to understand or know what Nokia is or was, but it was the world's number one mobile company.
Yeah.
And then it just drastically fell, and a range of other different brands until I decided to become an entrepreneur. And I am involved in consulting as well as launching a range of different products, including food, fashion, health and safety products, as well as agricultural products and furniture. Just a lot of different products. And this year we're launching the art division, where we'll be selling a lot of art as well as music. We're building a recording company. So we'll be signing up. We have signed up a number of artists, singers and bands. And so we'll be launching them starting this year.
Wow, that's cool. It's very diversified what you've been doing over the past years.
Yeah, I would certainly say the word diversified. I guess a lot of that has to do with the fact that I get very bored very easily with doing one thing. I couldn't imagine just doing fashion and then that would be it. Or I couldn't imagine just doing food and that would be it. And so I always feel the need to learn about other industries, do different things, and launch different products all the time. So on any given week, there is always going to be new products that we're launching.
That's cool. So
I think you've tried some of our products, no? Have you?
Have I?
Yeah, I sent what did I send over to your mother? I sent some rosemary chicken, as well as dendeng, as well as I think a range of different products to your mother the other day. I'm not sure if you tried it or if she ended up eating it.
I don't think I tried it because I haven't left my room the past few days. So maybe my mom tried it.
Okay.
Yeah, she definitely did.
Okay, well,
Um,
there you go then. Hopefully next time I'll send it over to you, Ramses.
yeah, thank you. Um, so you play golf, right? And so I believe that there are a lot of similarities when it comes to golf and business. And so I thought it would be great to hear from you, one of the most prominent business
Yeah, I
leaders.
mean,
Yeah, about similarities and
I mean, let's just say that I'm not an expert at golf.
uh-huh.
I am by no means a Tiger Woods
I
or
see, yeah.
any skilled, uh, amazing golfer. So I am pretty much a beginner, but
Okay.
I do love the sport. And I think one of the most important things is when it spills over golf and business, the technicalities of it. Everything has got to do with skill, and everything has to do with patience in learning and perfecting that particular skill. And so um, uh, it is really the art of learning and practicing, learning, failing, practicing again, learning, practicing and failing, learning, practicing, succeeding. And so there's always going to be that cycle of when you're upgrading your skills from a beginner, through to an advanced golfer. One other thing also is just patience. Myself as an entrepreneur, I'm extraordinarily impatient. I want to do
Yeah.
things. I want to launch things as soon as possible. I want A, B, C, D, E, F, G done. But oftentimes, when it comes to golf, I've learned that patience is is a sport on its own, where you give yourself the patience and the room to learn, to grow, to change, to really just take in the moment and absorb what that particular learning is to perfect that skill. So obviously there are a lot of similarities, but you know they both spill over.
Yeah.
From a golf perspective, there's many things that you can learn as an entrepreneur too, right?
Yeah.
And that's the art of being creative, right? As an entrepreneur, we're always creative in how we think, in how we do, um, in how we execute, right? And so it may appear that there's only one way to do something in golf, but actually there's many ways to do things, right? As you'd know. And so it's a matter of thinking outside of the box too, to make sure that you've hit it well, and you've got a good. But it kind of goes both ways. Do you agree with me, Ramses?
Yeah, I agree with you. There's like, for example, uh, there's many ways to play a hole. You could play slowly, you could play passively, or you can just shoot straight away. Try to shoot an aggressive line towards the
Mm-hmm.
hole, for example. Yeah, that's what I. That's what you mean by
No,
creative, right?
yeah, exactly. There's many ways, as we say at the UK. There's many ways to skin a cat. There's not just one way to do something. There's many ways to do something, and so that, as an entrepreneur, is a great skill to transfer over to the golfing world.
I see. I
Absolutely.
see. Yeah. Okay. Um, you know, uh, could you tell us about a time where you were really like your highs in your career?
Yeah, well, I've had many highs and I've had many lows.
Right.
There have been many accomplishments that I'm proud of, but there's also been many terrible things that have happened to me as an entrepreneur. I think what happens to all of us as public figures or as people who are sometimes in the media or under the scrutiny of the public, there are good things that are going to happen and there are bad things that are going to happen. Um, the good things that naturally happen, I always feel really proud whenever we launch a new product.
Mm.
I feel really good about that because I know that there's been a lot of research involved. There's been a lot of thinking. There have been a lot of like team discussions, team debates, and there's been a lot of production involved. For example, design, production of a particular product, and launch of that. So things like that are things that I can be proud of on a weekly basis on what we're doing and what we're achieving. On a more grander level, there's been a range of different awards and stuff that I've won, but nothing comes close to the feeling of, I guess, as an entrepreneur, when you create a product but people love the product, that you get compliments and people say, yeah, I really love that product of yours. It's really useful for me. It's changed my life in a particular way. I really enjoy it. Things like that make an entrepreneur really happy, to know that what you're producing brings joy to other people. And another part that I really love is just watching my team grow. And it's not really just the numbers in terms of, do I have one team member, 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 or 100 or whatever. So it's not about the number of team members, but it's watching them individually grow as human beings, that they feel accomplished, that they feel happy, they feel that they're doing good for the world. And that makes me as an entrepreneur feel good, right? As quote unquote, their manager.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess that does make sense, watching your team grow. And
yeah, I mean, in terms of watching the team grow, right? When they come out of university and they have a fundamental belief that they are only good at one thing or good at nothing, but then through forcing them to do a particular project, and the many facets of a particular project, they realize that they're actually good at many things. They can't be good at everything. There's absolutely no way that they're good at everything, but they realize their potential in that they're good at a lot of different things. And for example, right, when you're about to launch a product, you've got to do some research, right? Yeah. So that means a lot of Googling, a lot of reading books, a lot of reading articles, a lot of what we call quantitative and qualitative research and surveys. Quantitative means from a numbers standpoint, right? Getting data, getting statistics on, what the market may need, what we may want to create, right? And qualitative is really all about consumer sentiment, like how they feel about something. And so that's talking to a lot of people. And they go through that process of research and development. Then they go through the process of actually building or creating a prototype of a particular product, but whether it's a food product, whether it's a fashion product, whether it is a, any product there is, right? They have to create prototypes of that. And then the process of just, perfecting that, because you're going to get feedback from customers, right? To say it's good, it's bad, it needs to change in this particular way. It needs to, so then they go through that whole execution process to logistics, customer service, product improvement. So all of these different things make them really attuned to what it takes to become an entrepreneur. And so I just love the process of watching them grow and evolve.
Yeah. So would you say that your team could potentially, I guess, become entrepreneurs as well?
It's true. And obviously, Ramses, your mother is a very highly accomplished and popular person too. And so I'll ask her about this also. It's like when you were a kid, you still are very much a kid, right?
Yeah.
But when you were a child, you may have just assumed that you're good at, for example, maths, right? But then as time goes by, you start to expand the different skills that you're good at. For example, you're good at communicating to other people. You're good at business. You're good at networking. You're good at listening. You're good at taking notes and having an open mind, all these different things that you're good at, that makes you more of a rounded person.
Yeah.
And should you choose to be an entrepreneur, that would certainly make you a great entrepreneur.
Mhm. Yeah. So we've talked about your highs. Do you mind also telling us a little bit about your lows? I guess also how you kind of deal
I
with
think,
those.
yeah, I mean, I think we all go through lows as entrepreneurs and as public figures. You know, you go through stages where, you know, you create a product, but the product doesn't do really well. You thought that it would do really well, but then it doesn't go well, right? So that's, you know, that's the time that you don't feel, you know, you feel kind of bad, but then you're like, okay, move on. What's
Mhm.
next, right? That's how we kind of like manage things as entrepreneurs. We don't really view them as failures. We just feel like, okay, just move on to the next thing, right? You know, but also as public figures, we're open to public scrutiny also, right? Where the
Mhm.
public makes assumptions, where, you know, you get fake articles written about yourself, where
Yeah.
you get you know, fitna, right? Where you get gossip, where you get slander, where you get all these different things, but you know, it comes with the territory, you know. And I realized after a while that you cannot be great without debate, right? And so it's actually a healthy thing. I mean, I'm sure that you know what I mean also, right? Because I'm sure that your mother goes through the same challenges, right? Would you agree with me?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say so.
She would definitely go through the same challenges in terms of, you know, herself being a public figure, and then the public just being good with her, and then after that the public turning on her, and then it kind of goes, it's circular. It just doesn't stop until, from the day that you become a public figure to the day that you die, it just won't stop. It'll just go round and round. But, you know, it's a consequence of what we do, and it's a consequence of our position. It's a consequence of our privilege, and it's a consequence of our circumstance also.
Yeah. Totally agree. So what values do you think like a businessman or entrepreneur need to instill so that they succeed in their job?
There's a lot of values, right? And I think one of the most important ones is just integrity. Integrity in what you do,
Mhm.
integrity in what you create, what you promise to your customers and clients, and what you can deliver. It's an ideal. It's a wonderment for everybody. I think all
Yeah.
entrepreneurs strive to do that, but we don't all do that, right? Because there are times when the companies we own or what we're doing is out of the hands of us personally. I'll give you an example. Um, the CEO of Gojek, for example, or Grab, may promise integrity in everything that Grab or Gojek does
Mhm.
in what they do and how they action things, right? But then there could be a particular circumstance where a Gojek driver, right, or a Grab driver does something really bad to a customer, right? Anything can happen on a ride, right?
Yeah.
On, you know, it could be something as really bad as this, right? As really simple as this. Um, Gojek promises to deliver fresh, perfect, good food,
Yeah.
right? Healthy food to your door that's safe, etc. Right? That's a promise, right? From the CEO of GoFood or GrabFood, right?
Mhm.
But then what may happen is that the driver may go to McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
And say, okay, well, here's a Big Mac meal and here's some fries. And before he delivers that fries to the person who ordered it, he takes a few fries and puts it in his mouth and eats it.
Mm.
It can happen,
Mhm.
right? And it can happen to any business owner. Things like that's beyond our control, that compromises the integrity of our brand.
Yeah.
And that happens with, you know, Uber also, because they may often promise, oh, a car will come within like 15 minutes, but then it doesn't arrive it may arrive in 35 minutes. It can happen, right? Calvin Klein may produce, jeans that they say are fantastic and are great, but then after that, when it gets delivered to a house, the button may break, right? Garuda or any airline may promise safety, right? And they may promise like integrity of flight and safety and all these different things, but then all of a sudden the plane crashes. Can it happen? It does happen, and it happens to a lot of us. And so that's one of the most important things that in terms of values. And once you try to instill those values in your team and within your company, but how those values are executed, translated, may not result in what you intended it to be. Because the CEO of Lion Air may promise a safe flight, may wish you a safe flight, but it may disappear. The plane may come down.
That's what happened.
It happens
a few times,
and it does happen, doesn't it, Ramses?
I mean, those are very unfortunate things that's beyond the control of the managers and the people above.
Absolutely.
So is there anything else that you would like to add to our discussion today?
I think one of the most important points is when it comes to business as well as golf or any sport as a matter, in that even though golf in many ways is an individualistic sport, right? Would you agree with me?
Yeah, I agree.
It's you versus the whole or versus others, right? Your competitors. But the fact is that I believe that all sports are team games, are collaborative. Whether it is football, where you've got how many people on one side, baseball, where you've got how many other people on one side, or any other sport, even sports such as golf. There are a lot of really, really strong lessons that you can gain from teamwork from that, such as like, for example, just watching and learning from others. I think that's a really important skill. How much of the skills that you gain from golf is simply just by you just smacking it? Very little.
Nothing.
Right? Very little. So in many ways, golf and business is learned by eyeing other people out, by watching, by learning, by just sitting or standing and observing. That applies to golf as much as it applies to business, where if you move without observing, you will make a wrong move. But when you've studied things, it's like chess. Chess is very much an individual sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there's also that team and that watching element, where you're watching that particular person make the move so you can make a better move that would counter that particular move. So the art of observing, listening, collaborating, these are skills that translate from business to sport, such as golf, and from sport and golf through to business too. So, that's another key point. Another element of golf, I wanted to ask you a question too, actually.
Yeah, sure.
What frustrates you about golf?
What frustrates me? Okay, so personally, I am not very good at the sport. I feel like I need to practice more to be more consistent in hitting my shots. So when I'm on the course and I hit a shot that like I hit a shot that is wrong, but I know that I could have hit it right, because that's what frustrates me. But at the same time, after I hit the shot, I kind of just have to think, okay, I hit a bad shot now. The next one should not affect everything else, basically.
True.
Yeah.
True. And actually, Ramses, there's very one really key word that you've raised, and that's the word consistency, right?
Yeah.
And that's a very hard thing to maintain. For a person who ranks number one in the world, they've got to be consistent to rank number one. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
You can't have a good day, a bad day, a good day, a bad day, a good day, bad day, right? Because you won't be number one. You need to have consistently good days
Yeah.
to achieve number one ranking. And that's kind of like business too, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like you can't launch a bad product and then a good one and then a bad one and then a bad one and then a bad one and then a good one.
Good.
You got to consistently create and launch good products to ensure that you're on a winning streak all the time. And, that's pretty much the same too, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so the only thing that can really drive consistency is everything that you do in between that. So if you're competing in golf every Saturday, it doesn't matter what you do every Saturday that counts. It's everything that you do on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Right.
Friday that matters towards that Saturday. And how consistent are you with practice? Are you really just practicing 1 hour per day, or are you putting in 8 or 10 hours per day? Because I'm sure that the greatest golf players in the world are putting in like 12 hours per day, even more on that particular craft. And it's kind of like what freaks me out is the Olympic Games. That really freaks me out, actually, because can you imagine training from when you are 4 years old? A lot of these kids, they train from the age of about 4 years old. Swimming. This is about swimming as a sport, right?
Yeah.
And they'll be training every single day freestyle, right? Let's just say that they want to specialize in a 50-meter dash, in a 50-meter sprint. They'll be training every single day from the age of 4 years old, right, through to 20 years of age, right, or 15 or 16, 18 or 20, whatever age they're peaking at, right?
Yeah.
Right, just for a 40-second race. Because that's how long, roughly, let's just say 1 minute or so. All right? Because that's how long, that's how long a 50-meter, like swimming race is going to take them. And the only thing that's going to separate the person who comes first and the person who comes second is like, I don't know, 1 second, 2 seconds, point something of a second or so. And so can you imagine training? Exactly. Can you imagine training like 15 or 20 years of your life to separate yourself from the person who comes second by a second or so? I mean, it's completely crazy, isn't it? And so it's not what they did at the age of 4 or what they did at the age of 20 that matters, but it's what they did every single day between the age of 4 to the age of 20 that matters. And were they consistent and were they disciplined in their training? And that's something that we can all learn from those athletes. And that's the same also when it comes to golf too, isn't it? I mean, the world's greatest, golf players didn't, overnight, right? They all took their time. They all had time to develop their skills. So, it goes back to school also when, yourself as a student, as a high school student, it's not what you necessarily do on the day of your exam that matters, but it's every single day at school, how many hours you're putting into your algorithms, your calculus, your, all these, subjects that matters. Yeah. Are you putting in 3 hours every day? Are you putting 10 hours every day? Are you putting 0 hours every day? And you realize that the more hours that you put into a particular subject, the better that you're going to get at it.
It's true. That is true.
Agree?
Yeah.
Are you more a maths person or more of a English, arts, and
I would say
creative?
I'm more of a math person.
More maths person?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, so I suppose because you feel that you're more of a maths person, you probably inject a lot more hours into maths, right? Because you enjoy it more, and you know that you're good at that rather than other subjects. So
Yeah, I feel like I do that, but I should spend a bit more time on the other subjects I'm not so good at, so that I can
yep.
improve on those.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to be rounded. It's important to be a rounded person in that, you're not completely a maths person or you're not completely an art or creative person. But after a while, after you pass high school and you get into university, then you're really going to have to specialize. And that's when you'll know that the world needs you for your mathematical skills or your physics skills or your chemistry skills, and or the world needs you to be a reporter or a social activist or whatever like that. So you'll realize over time, and it's a process of um, at your age diversification, right, where you diversify a lot of your skills, art, math, science, English, um, sports, everything, right? So you're diversifying. And then after that, what happens is then you start to go a lot more narrower. Then you start to specialize a lot more. Diversify, specialize. And then because you realize that, so right now in high school, you're diversifying a lot, right? And then thereafter, you'll start to specialize. You may become a doctor later too, right? Like your mother. Then you may specialize in medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you get into medicine, then you're going to have to diversify, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of branches of medicine, right? You could be many things. You could be a heart surgeon. You could specialize in cancer. You could specialize in skin. You could specialize in blood. You can specialize in a lot of different things, right? So there's a lot of things that you can diversify. But then after that, you will start to narrow into your field. What are you going to specialize in?
Yeah,
That's kind of the pattern of life, isn't it?
it is. It is specializing in one thing rather than
Mm-hmm.
being well-rounded, I think.
Absolutely.
Is neat. So just final question. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs looking to take the next steps in their lives? Maybe start a business.
I guess the most important advice that I'll give to any young entrepreneurs that are starting up is to urgently find a mentor, somebody who is accomplished in their field, somebody who is proven to be able to create products or services that are useful for society, and really latch onto them, ask them to become your mentor. And what that means is that they will provide you with like a doorstep opportunity to learn from them, learn from their career, learn from their mistakes, learn from their products, learn from their services, learn from their team, and stand on their shoulders. Because when you're starting a business, it's so easy to fail when you're trying to navigate everything on your own, right? So let's just say that you decide to start a food business, okay? Right.
Yeah.
Ramses decides to start a bakso company, right? Where you want to sell bakso, okay?
What's the bakso? Okay.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, no. I was just wondering what that was, but then, yeah.
Well, I mean, just as an example, right? Let's just say, as an
Yeah.
example, you decide to create a bakso company. Well, I'm sure that you're going to make a lot of errors. For example, you don't know where to get the meat, right? So you start to find out, where can I buy meat from? Where can I buy this from? You don't know where to buy the noodles, right? You don't know where to buy the the sambal or the salt and sugar. So you may be paying a really high price for all of these things that you didn't know about. And then after that, you realize, oh my God, the meat that I bought, the quality is really bad, right? Or the noodles doesn't taste really good, or the sambal and all that stuff is just not nice and all that sort of stuff, right? So there you can see an immediate loss that you're going to experience financially because you've made the wrong decisions. But if you talk to me, for example, and I have a bakso company, right? You talk to me and you say, Uda Wempy, what advice do you have? Like for me, I want to open up a bakso company. And then I would tell you, and I'd say, okay, well, the best place to buy your bakso, your meat is from here, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't pay, if they tell you that it's going to cost you 10,000 rupees per kilo, you have to negotiate it down to 5,000, 5,000 rupees per kilo, right? And then the noodles, you should buy it from here. The salt, you should buy from here and there. I mean, how much faster would you be able to accelerate? Do you agree with me?
Yeah, you'll be able to accelerate a lot faster.
Exactly. And that's why mentors are very useful. I'm using that as a very basic example of how beneficial a mentor could be. But a mentor could provide you with wonderful advice, a wonderful network, right? Wonderful solutions for things that you've not experienced yet. And we all need mentors too. I mean, like even at my age, I need a mentor. I need mentors in the different industries that I enter, right?
Yeah.
To say I'm in the health industry, well, I need a mentor who's in the health industry also to kind of show me and guide me the way and say, Wempy, whenever you create this product, you need approval from BEPOM, right? You need, from this legal authority, you need to do A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so at least I'll get that advice. And then when I launch a fashion company, then I'll get advice from a particular entrepreneur who's in the fashion business who would say, okay, Wempy, you should, these are the contacts for you to get into, like Indonesian Fashion Week, Jakarta Fashion Week, Malang Fashion Week, all these. So mentors are vital for any budding entrepreneur.
Did you have a mentor when you kind of started everything out?
Yeah, absolutely. So my mentors I have three main mentors. My first mentor was a lady by the name of Mira Mukozik, and she was the senior vice president of American Express. She was a director when I first met her. She was my boss of brand, advertising and brand. And she really taught me about how to build a brand, how to advertise, how to market. And so that to me was absolutely vital when I was starting my career in terms of advertising. And then after that, I had another mentor by the name of Sanjay Basin, and he was a regional director also when I first moved over to Singapore, and he taught me a lot of amazing things about working across Asia Pacific. And so we all need mentors at different stages of our lives, and I recommend that you get a mentor as soon as possible with people that can very much teach you and open your mind in terms of what your possibilities are and how you should move towards those possibilities. Like, what are the steps towards achieving your dreams and goals?
Okay, yeah, that is a very good way to end off our interview. I would like to thank you, Mr. Wempy, for coming on to our show. Yeah, and bye.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine, Ramses. And I just wanted to wish you well in everything that you pursue, whether it's a career in golf, a career in business, a career in health and mathematics and medicine, whatever it is you choose to pursue. I wish you the absolute best. And if I can leave yourself and with all the viewers with one final message, and that is to really just find your purpose in life. Really ask, what am I here on earth for? What is my particular calling? You're not here on earth to do a lot of things for a lot of people, right? It's not your, it's ultimately not your goal or not your function. Your ultimate function is to fulfill your potential, right?
Yeah.
And whether that is through maths, whether that is through sport, whether it is that is through business, because once you realize your potential and once you fulfill your potential, then and only then can you affect and change and bring about good upon others. Whether that happens at a micro level where there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lives that you can change, that's fantastic, or at a more macro level where you can change hundreds of people's lives or thousands of people's lives or even millions of people's lives. That depends on where you choose to pursue, because a doctor who saves the lives of 80 people, right, in their whole lifetime, could be a lot more beneficial than a president who corrupts millions of people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, so that's all the time we have for today. I would like to thank Wempy for coming onto our show and giving me and my viewers some insight on what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Yep. See you guys next time.